He walked into the lobby. Shoes worn. Jacket old but neatly pressed. Heads turned. Whispers followed. "Sir, I think you're lost," the receptionist smirked. The guard folded his arms, ready to throw him out. "You don't belong here," someone scoffed. "This place is for people who can afford it." The man said nothing. He clutched the folder in his hand and breathed. What happened next left everyone in that lobby stunned, because the man they thought was too poor to be here was about to flip the script. This wasn't just any hotel. It was the Grand Regent, where politicians made deals behind closed doors, where billionaires sealed contracts over champagne, where the air itself smelled like money and power. And then he walked in. His clothes told one story, but his eyes told another. He wasn't here by accident. He was here for war. His name was Samuel Okoro. He came from nothing. Crowded streets, power cuts, water that ran brown. A world where dreams were small and survival was the only goal. But Samuel? He studied by candlelight. He worked jobs nobody wanted. He refused to break. What no one knew was that Samuel carried a fire inside him. A fire that would burn down the lies of powerful men. In his folder was proof. Proof of greed. Proof of corruption. Proof of destruction. And the man responsible was standing just a few steps away. The receptionist leaned forward. "Sir, we don't allow people like you here." Laughter broke out from the lounge. "Do you even know how much a night costs? That jacket couldn't pay for the appetizers." The guard moved closer. His hand reached out. But then, "Let him through." A voice echoed across the marble floor. Smooth. Confident. Dangerous. It was him. Desmond Cole. A man with a smile polished like his diamond cufflinks. Philanthropist by day. Predator by night. A man who built his empire by crushing the powerless. "Interesting," Cole smirked. "A man dressed like that walking into my hotel? Tell me, why are you here?" Samuel's voice cut through the laughter. "To see you." The room exploded. Guests laughed. Cole laughed. "You? See me? My time is worth more than your life." Samuel stepped forward. "I'm not here for money." He placed the folder on the table. "I'm here for justice." The laughter died instantly. Samuel opened the folder. Page after page. Contracts. Accounts. Land deals. Every signature. Desmond Cole's. The room fell silent. Cole's smile cracked. "Where did you get this?" "From the people you crushed. From the families you destroyed. From the workers you underpaid." Cole scoffed. "These mean nothing. I could destroy you with a phone call." Samuel leaned closer. His voice like steel. "Do you know who I am?" Cole froze. Samuel pulled out one final paper, embossed with the seal of the National Anti-Corruption Agency. "I'm the man leading the investigation against you. And today, your reign ends." Gasps filled the air. Phones came out. Cameras recorded. Cole's hands trembled. For the first time in years, he wasn't in control. Samuel closed the folder. He looked at the crowd. Never judge a man by his clothes. Never by his wallet. The person you mock today may hold your future tomorrow. The receptionist dropped her eyes. The guard froze. Even the guests shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Samuel's voice grew stronger. "Respect costs nothing. Arrogance will cost you everything. Justice isn't a luxury for the rich. It belongs to all of us." He turned toward the door. Every step echoed like thunder. But just as he reached the exit, his phone buzzed. A message. Read. "Be careful. Cole isn't finished. He has people everywhere." Samuel's eyes narrowed. He slipped the phone back into his pocket. Outside, black cars waited. Men in dark suits watched his every move. Justice had been served today. But tomorrow? Tomorrow would be war. Samuel stepped into the sunlight. This is far from over. Outside the Grand Regent, the air was heavy. 3 black cars. Tinted windows. Engines running. Men in dark suits leaned against the doors, sunglasses hiding their eyes. But Samuel knew. They weren't there for show. The message still burned on his phone screen. Be careful. Cole isn't finished. He has people everywhere. And as Samuel walked down those marble steps, he realized something chilling. The fight wasn't over. It was only just beginning. The crowd inside the hotel was still buzzing. Videos were already uploading. Hashtags already trending. But Desmond Cole? He wasn't a man to lose quietly. Not a man to walk away from humiliation. Behind the glass walls of the hotel, Cole stood frozen. Jaw clenched. Eyes locked on Samuel. And then, His lips curved into a smile. Because for men like Cole, power wasn't in documents. It was in fear. And he was about to remind Samuel of that. Samuel crossed the street. He could feel the eyes on him. Every step. Every movement. The first car door opened. A man stepped out. Broad shoulders. Earpiece. A scar cutting across his cheek. "Mr. Okoro," he said calmly. "Boss wants a word." Samuel didn't break stride. "Tell your boss I already said everything he needed to hear." The man's smile was thin. "You don't want to make this harder than it has to be." Samuel's phone buzzed again. This time no words. Just one image. His mother. Standing outside her small home. A car parked across the street. Samuel froze. He turned slowly. Cole was still inside the hotel, watching through the glass, sipping wine as though nothing had happened. This was his message. He wasn't just threatening Samuel. He was reaching for the people Samuel loved. The man with the scar leaned closer. "You've got until tomorrow to hand over every piece of evidence, or your family pays the price." Samuel's fists clenched. His heartbeat thundered. The world seemed to spin. But then, he remembered the faces of the workers who had come to him. The mothers who had cried. The children who had gone hungry because of Cole's greed. This wasn't just about him anymore. This was bigger. Samuel looked the man dead in the eye. "Tell your boss, fear only works on the guilty. And I am not afraid." The man's smile vanished. He stepped back, signaling the others. But Samuel had already slipped into the crowd. He vanished into the chaos of the city streets, the folder still clutched under his arm. Because now, the game had changed. This wasn't just about bringing Cole to justice. It was about survival. Hours later, Samuel sat in a dim cafe on the edge of town. The weight of the day pressed down on him. The folder sat on the table, untouched. And then, a shadow fell across him. Rough night? A woman slid into the seat across from him. Sharp eyes. Calm voice. She placed a badge on the table. Special Investigator Amaka James. "We've been following Cole for years," she said softly. "But no one has ever gotten this close. Until you." Samuel's eyes narrowed. "And why should I trust you?" Amaka leaned in. "Because if you don't, you won't live to see tomorrow." Before Samuel could answer, the cafe lights flickered. The door burst open. 3 men in black stormed in, guns glinting under the fluorescent light. "Samuel Okoro," the scarred man growled. "Time's up." Amaka's hand slid beneath the table. Her eyes never left Samuel's. "You wanted justice?" she whispered. "Then fight for it." The men raised their weapons. The cafe held its breath. And Samuel? He stood slowly, eyes blazing, voice steady. "If this is how it ends, then so be it. But I promise you, Cole will fall." The first shot rang out. The cafe windows shattered. Screams filled the air. Bullets ripped through tables and chairs. And Samuel, for the first time in his life, was staring death in the face. But something unexpected happened. Because the woman across from him, Investigator Amaka James, was no ordinary ally. Amaka's hand moved faster than Samuel could blink. Her gun flashed from under the table. One shot, two. And 2 of Cole's men collapsed to the ground. The third lunged forward, dragging Samuel by the collar. "You should have stayed quiet," he hissed. But Samuel had learned something in the last 24 hours. Fear is a chain. And he was done being chained. He slammed his head back, hard. The man staggered, grip loosening. And Amaka didn't hesitate. A final shot dropped him cold. The cafe was chaos, people screaming, running. But for Samuel, time stood still. He was alive. Barely. Amaka grabbed his arm, pulling him outside into the alley. Her voice was sharp, urgent. "Listen carefully. Cole isn't just some rich bully. He's connected. Politicians, judges, even police chiefs. That's why he's untouchable." Samuel's chest tightened. "So, no one's coming for him?" Amaka's eyes darkened. "No one, except us." She opened her bag. Inside, a small recording device. Wires, files, photographs. And at the very bottom, a sealed envelope, labeled only with one word, Cole. Samuel reached for it, but Amaka's hand stopped him. "Not yet. You're not ready to see what's inside." As dawn broke, news channels exploded with reports of the cafe shootout. But instead of painting Samuel as a victim, headlines twisted the story. Disruptive protester involved in shootout. Business tycoon Cole denies allegations. The narrative was changing. Cole was winning the media war. And Samuel realized something chilling. If Cole couldn't silence him with threats, he would bury him with lies. That night, as Samuel and Amaka hid in a rundown safe house, there was a knock at the door. Samuel froze. Another trap? But when Amaka opened it, a young man stood there, shaking. Well, he held a flash drive in his hand. "I used to work for Cole," he whispered. "I know things. And if you don't stop him, more people will die." Samuel took the flash drive. On the screen, documents, bank records, offshore accounts, and then a video. Cole, sitting in a dim room, handing an envelope stuffed with cash to a high-ranking politician. The voice was clear. "Make sure the investigation disappears." Samuel's stomach turned. This was it. The evidence that could destroy Cole. But as the video ended, a chilling message flashed across the screen. "Property of Desmond Cole. If you're seeing this, you're already dead." The laptop shut down on its own. Smoke began rising from the device. Self-destructing. Evidence gone in seconds. Samuel looked up at Amaka. Her face was pale. Her voice a whisper. "He knew we'd find it. He's been ahead of us this whole time." Suddenly, the safe house lights cut out. Silence. Then footsteps. Dozens of them. And from outside, a familiar voice echoed in the darkness. "You thought you could embarrass me, Samuel? You thought the poor boy could outplay Desmond Cole? Now, you'll learn the price of defiance." The door handle turned. The walls trembled. And Samuel knew. The real war was about to begin. The safe house door shook violently. Cole's men were outside. And Samuel stood frozen, his heart racing. But something was different now. For the first time, he wasn't just afraid. He was angry. And anger, when fueled by injustice, is a weapon more powerful than fear. Amaka grabbed Samuel's arm, pulling him toward the back exit. But Cole's voice boomed through the walls. "There's no running, Samuel. You belong in the dirt where you came from." Samuel clenched his fists. Those words again. The same poison Cole had spat at him in the restaurant. But instead of shrinking, Samuel's resolve hardened. They crashed through the back door into the night. Bullets cracked the air as they sprinted through narrow alleys, leaping over trash bins, ducking behind walls. At one point, Samuel tripped, scraping his knees. The metallic taste of blood filled his mouth. But Amaka's words pushed him forward. "You're not weak. You're not helpless. You are exactly the kind of man Cole is terrified of. Because you can't be bought." They finally reached an abandoned factory, collapsing inside. Samuel's chest heaved, sweat dripping from his brow. He looked at Amaka. "Why me? Why not someone stronger? Richer? Smarter? Cole has everything. What do I have?" Amaka locked eyes with him. "You have the one thing he'll never understand, truth. And when truth collides with arrogance, arrogance always falls." Those words lit a fire inside him. The young ex-employee who brought them the flash drive reappeared, trembling but determined. "I can't give you another copy of that video, but I know where Cole keeps his backups." Samuel leaned forward. "Where?" The man swallowed hard. "His private estate. Hidden safe. Guarded day and night." Amaka frowned. "It's a fortress. Walking in there is suicide." Samuel's lips curved into the smallest, most defiant smile. "Then we won't walk in. We'll make him invite us." The next day the media was buzzing. Not because of Cole, but because of Samuel. Leaked audio clips, captured during the shootout, were suddenly everywhere. Clips of Cole's men threatening Samuel. Clips of Amaka shouting his name in desperation. The headlines began to shift. Poor student targeted by billionaires' men? David versus Goliath showdown in the city. Samuel had finally done it. He had flipped the narrative. And now Cole's carefully polished image was cracking. Inside his mansion, Cole smashed a glass against the wall. "Find him. I don't care what it takes. That boy is finished." But in his rage he made a mistake. He announced a high-profile charity gala, meant to prove his generosity and bury the scandal. And Samuel? He saw it as an invitation. Amaka stared at him in disbelief. "You want to walk straight into Cole's party? He'll have you killed before dessert." But Samuel's eyes burned with determination. "He wanted me invisible. He wanted me silent. Now I'm going to stand in his world, in his house, and show him what truth looks like." The young ex-employee handed Samuel a small device. A signal jammer, disguised as a watch. "If you get near the safe at his estate," he said, "this is your only chance." That night, Samuel stood before a mirror. His cheap suit barely fit. His tie was crooked. He looked nothing like the powerful men who'd fill that gala. But his reflection didn't matter. His resolve did. Because this time, Samuel wasn't walking in as a victim. He was walking in as a storm. And as the car pulled up outside Cole's glittering mansion, Samuel whispered under his breath, "You told me I was too poor to be here. Now, let's see who really belongs." The mansion doors opened. Golden light spilled out. Cole's voice echoed from inside, laughing. And Samuel stepped in, straight into the lion's den. The night was electric. Cameras flashed. Expensive cars lined the driveway. Cole's mansion gleamed like a palace of untouchable power. And there, stepping out of a battered taxi in a suit 2 sizes too small, was Samuel. The same young man Cole had humiliated. The same voice Cole had tried to silence. But tonight, Samuel wasn't here to bow his head. He was here to bring down a king. Security guards sneered as Samuel approached. "Invitation?" one of them barked. Samuel reached into his jacket. Gasps echoed around the entrance as a golden card shimmered in his hand. Cole's personal assistant had accidentally slipped him one. Or perhaps, not accidentally at all. The guard's frown deepened. But the scanner beeped green. And Samuel walked in. Inside, chandeliers sparkled. Laughter and music filled the air. Men in tuxedos clinked champagne glasses, while women in glittering gowns whispered behind jeweled fans. And across the room, like a king surveying his empire, stood Cole. Laughing, shaking hands, adored. His eyes fell on Samuel. And his smile froze. The crowd parted as Cole strutted toward him. Well, Cole sneered. "If it isn't the charity case. Tell me, did you mistake this for a soup kitchen?" A ripple of laughter moved through the crowd. But Samuel didn't flinch. He raised his voice, steady and firm. "Funny. I was told this was a gala for justice and fairness. Maybe I came to the right place after all." The laughter died. Gasp. Whispers. Cole's smirk faltered. Suddenly, a young woman stepped beside Samuel. She wore a crimson dress, her eyes sharp with defiance. "Leave him alone, Cole," she said. The room fell silent. It was Naomi, Cole's own cousin. A family member, siding with Samuel. Cole's jaw tightened. "Careful, Naomi. You don't know what you're doing." "Oh, I know exactly," she shot back. "You've lied, cheated, and trampled on people for years. Maybe it's time someone stood up to you." Naomi leaned in close to Samuel. Her voice was a whisper only he could hear. "The safe is upstairs. He keeps everything there. Documents. Drives. Proof." Samuel's heart pounded. The plan was working. But before he could move, Cole snapped his fingers. Music cut off. 2 guards blocked Samuel's path. Cole raised his glass high, addressing the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we welcome a very special guest. A boy who thinks he can waltz into my world. Let's show him how little he belongs." A waiter stumbled forward carrying a silver tray. On it sat a single glass of water. Cole sneered. "Here, Samuel. Since champagne is above your budget." Laughter erupted around the room. Cameras flashed, recording every second. But Samuel did not break. He picked up the glass, raised it high, and with a voice steady as stone he said, "To the poor, to the silenced, to everyone who's ever been told they don't belong. Tonight, we drink to the end of arrogance." The room froze. Half the guests looked away in shame. The other half began to clap. Cole's face turned red. Just as Samuel felt the tide shifting, Naomi gasped. Her phone buzzed with a message. Her face drained of color. She leaned to Samuel. "You have to leave, now. Someone tipped him off. He knows about the plan." Samuel's blood ran cold. The crowd around them erupted into murmurs. Cole's grin returned, wider than ever. And from the balcony above, 2 armed men appeared, rifles aimed directly at Samuel. Cole raised his glass. "Justice, my dear cousin? Tonight, justice will be served indeed." The room erupted in chaos. Guests screamed. Cameras flashed. Samuel stood, a spotlight burning down on him, trapped in the lion's den with no way out. And Cole's voice rang through the hall, dripping with venom. "You thought you could beat me, Samuel? This is MY World. And tonight, you don't leave it alive." The guards closed in. Naomi clutched Samuel's arm. And in that final, heart-stopping second, Samuel made a decision that would change everything. The rifles glinted under the ballroom lights. Cole's laughter echoed like thunder. Guests scattered, screaming as Samuel stood frozen in the spotlight. It seemed impossible. 2 guns aimed at his chest. Cole's guards closing in from every direction. And then, Samuel whispered 4 words to Naomi. Follow my lead. Now. Samuel raised the glass of water high once more. His voice cut through the chaos like a blade. You all see this. The great Cole, so powerful, so untouchable, so terrified of the truth, that he points guns at a poor man holding water. The crowd gasped. Cameras flashed wildly. Even the guards hesitated, lowering their rifles ever so slightly. Cole's smirk faltered. This wasn't the humiliation he'd planned. And then crash. Naomi grabbed a nearby champagne bottle and smashed it against the floor. Sparks of shattered glass scattered everywhere. The crowd screamed again, rushing toward the exits in a frenzy. In that chaos, Samuel slipped behind a toppled table, dragging Naomi with him. Move, 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 he hissed. Bullets tore through tablecloth. Cole roared, don't let him escape. The ballroom erupted into a stampede of expensive gowns and tuxedos. Samuel darted between panicked guests, heart pounding in his chest. Naomi clutched his hand, leading him through the maze of chaos. Behind them, Cole's guards shoved through the crowd, firing warning shots into the air. Screams rang out. Glass shattered. It was pandemonium. Samuel's chest burned with adrenaline. But Naomi's voice cut sharp through the noise. Stairwell, this way. They burst into a dim hallway behind the main stage. At the end, a steel door loomed, the private study. Inside that study, the safe. The proof. The key to Cole's downfall. Naomi's hands shook as she punched a code into the lock. The keypad beeped green. The door swung open. And Samuel's breath caught. Stacks of files. Hard drives. Confidential papers. Evidence of fraud, bribery, and crimes hidden for years. It was all there. But before Samuel could touch the safe, boom. The door behind them burst open. Cole stormed in, guards at his back, eyes blazing with rage. Well, 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 he hissed. Caught like rats in my own house. He leveled a pistol at Samuel's chest. Game over. Just then, another voice echoed from the hallway. Put the gun down, Cole. Everyone froze. Out of the shadows stepped Marcus, one of Cole's longtime business partners. But his gun wasn't pointed at Samuel. It was pointed at Cole. You've gone too far. I've watched you ruin lives, destroy families, steal fortunes. But tonight? You've made one mistake too many. The guards hesitated. Cole's eyes widened in shock. Marcus, you traitor. Samuel's chance came in a flash. He grabbed the nearest folder from the safe, thick with damning evidence, and bolted for the hallway. Go, Naomi, he shouted. Bullets ripped through the study. Guards turned on Marcus, torn between loyalties. Naomi screamed as Samuel dragged her through the firestorm of chaos. Cole's roar echoed behind them. Get him. He leaves this house dead. They burst into the kitchen, knocking over trays of food and startled staff. Samuel's lungs burned, his suit torn, but the folder was clutched tight to his chest. Through the back doors, into the night air, into the darkness of the mansion gardens. Spotlights blazed. Dogs barked. The chase thundered behind them. Naomi's grip tightened on Samuel's hand. Don't stop, no matter what. They sprinted into the shadows. Branches slashed their faces. The sound of guards grew closer and closer. And then, Samuel tripped. The folder slipped from his hands. Papers spilled everywhere across the grass. He scrambled desperately but froze when a red dot appeared on his chest. Cole's voice thundered from the distance. This ends now. The world seemed to slow. Samuel on his knees. The folder of evidence scattered around him. Cole's men closing in. A rifle aimed at his heart. Naomi's scream tore through the night. Samuel, get up. But it was too late. The gun fired. The screen went black. Watch out for part 2.